The household items that are familiar to everyone today, the technologies around us and other everyday things surprise few people, but just imagine, just 120 years ago, an ordinary electric light bulb in a house caused no less delight than, for example, the appearance of high-speed internet in your house quite recently. In this issue, you will see how the development of what surrounds us today began. The first piston internal combustion engine. Today, there are many jokes about the French car industry, but it was a French scientist who invented the world's first piston internal combustion engine. In 1807, the French inventor François-Isaac de Rives built the first piston engine, often referred to as the de Rives engine. The engine ran on gaseous hydrogen and had design elements that were included in subsequent prototypes of internal combustion engines, namely a piston group and spark ignition. The first and most ancient city on Earth is Jericho, Palestine. The oldest city in the world, it has been continuously inhabited since the 10th millennium BC.E. Modern Jericho is a real living museum of ancient monuments. Here you can see the ruins left from the palace of King Herod, as well as many ancient Orthodox shrines. The city is located 30 kilometers from Jerusalem, on the west bank of the Jordan River. Jericho was repeatedly mentioned in the Gospel events, which brought the city religious fame, and later attracted crowds of scholars who wanted to document the biblical chronology. Rome, the first city with a population of 1 million. The first city to reach a population of 1 million was Rome around the turn of our era, but by the 5th to 6th centuries, the population of Rome had significantly decreased. Alexandria also had a population close to 1 million. The world's first submarine. In 1624, the Dutchman Cornelius van Drebbel built the first submarine in London. In the age of wooden ships, she also had a wooden hull, the tightness of which was achieved by fitting it with oiled leather. To submerge the submarine underwater, special containers were filled with outboard water. The submarine sailed along the Thames at a depth of 4 to 5 meters, and passengers were carried on it for several years. She moved along the river with the help of 12 rowers who rowed with oars. First computer. This question still causes a lot of controversy, since both the first computing machine and later improved machines can be considered a computer. However, most often the palm is given to the Altair 8800 microcomputer, released in 1975 by a small American company MITS from Albuquerque, New Mexico. The first underground system in the world was the London Underground, opened in 1863 and first electrified in 1900. The busiest is the Beijing subway. In terms of the number of stations, the New York subway is leading, and in terms of the length of the lines, the Shanghai subway. The FIFA World Cup is one of the most prestigious sporting events in the world. The championships have been counting down since 1930 and are held once every 4 years. The very first World Cup took place in Uruguay, with 13 teams participating. The hosts of the tournament reached the final, where they were opposed by the Argentines. The match ended in a 4-2 victory for Uruguay. People have learned to build multi-story buildings since the time of ancient cities built before our era, but the first skyscraper is considered to be the building of the insurance company, Home Insurance Building, built in 1885 in Chicago, which lasted until 1931. On September 19, 1825, the first public railway between Darlington and Stockton ran the first train operated by its creator, George Stephenson. The train consisted of the locomotive movement, 12 freight wagons with flour and coal, and 22 wagons with passengers. First movie show. The history of cinema began its countdown on December 28, 1895, when the first film screening was held in Paris on the Boulevard des Capucines in one of the halls of the Grand Café. The oldest and first bank in the world is the Bank of Naples, established in 1539 and still in existence. And the first official state bank is the Bank of Venice, which was established in 1539. Today, almost everyone can get to Everest for money. And this will not surprise anyone. It is surprising that the first ascent was made so recently, namely 70 years ago on May 29, 1953. 2 climbers conquered the highest peak on Earth for the first time. These heroes were New Zealander Edmund Hillary and Sherpa Tenzing Norgay. First power plant. In today's world, electricity in homes is the same essential condition as water or, say, clean air. It is simply impossible to live without it. But even some 100 years ago, electricity was only in cities and it was generated at coal-fired power plants. The first power plants were built at the end of the 19th century. One of the first was the Thomas Edison Power Plant in New York, which began operation in 1882. In the same year, a similar station appeared in London. Such an invention as an incandescent lamp caused a great stir in society. At first they were used to illuminate the streets, replacing gas lamps, and then people wanted to have electric lights in their houses that continued their day. The enthusiasm for the first electric lamps in the apartments of that time was the same as the appearance of the internet relatively recently, some 25 years ago. In pursuit of profits, electricity generating companies began to develop and expand. Everyone wanted to have light in their homes, but at the same time, many disputes arose. Architects were against laying high-rise lines that spoiled the appearance of cities. Besides, gas companies engaged in lighting urban areas. Streets were not happy with such competition, but technological progress was unstoppable. The beginning of the 20th century in the electric light of cities foreshadowed great advances in the development of technology. Coal-fired power plants proliferated around the world. Calculations showed that building powerful power plants near coal deposits or water sources and then transmitting electricity through high-voltage networks is much more profitable than building many small stations in cities. Further development of the electric power industry followed the path of ever greater centralization. Powerful power plants replaced less efficient block stations. Thus, the energy system familiar to us gradually formed. Huge stations appeared absorbing tons of coal, and plants and factories became their main consumers. The burning of many tons of coal and peat, and the parallel development of technology, led scientists to nuclear energy. So on June 27, 1954, in the village of Obninskoye, Kaluga region, at the Lipunsky Physical and Energy Institute, the world's first nuclear power plant was launched, equipped with one uranium graphite channel reactor with a water coolant AM1 with a capacity of 5 megawatts. The name was deciphered as Peaceful Atom. The news of this spread all over the world. From this date began the countdown of the history of nuclear energy. April 29, 2002 at 11:31 a.m. Moscow time, the reactor of the world's first nuclear power plant in Obninsk was permanently shut down. The station was shut down solely for economic reasons, as keeping it in a safe condition became more and more expensive every year. Thank you friends for watching. Write your comments about what else is the very first thing you would like to hear. Well, that's all for today. Thank you all for watching. If it was interesting, support the video with likes. Thank you for subscribing, and take a look at what else we have prepared for you.